Hello everyone. Today we're continuing our Nimzo-Larsen series, and today we're going to talk about the Indian variation of the Nimzo-Larsen Attack. If your opponents tried to play King's Indian defense, this is what could potentially happen. For example, of course, they could try to play other things as well and not try to play King's Indian specifically. But this is what's going to be the most common, I think, for a lot of people, because King's Indian is a very popular opening, so it's a variation we should probably discuss. So b3, knight to f6, bishop to b2, and g6. Now here there are many different ways white can play. I have two really cool lines here. One is to capture the knight on f6, double black's pawns, and play structurally, and we will of course look at that in a little bit. Or there's this very fun line with pawn to g4, which, you could try to play this in a blitz game, for example, if you want to. It's not the most precise way to play. It's not particularly great, but it is fun, and I have won games with this. So it is very fun to play. But okay, let's discuss something a bit more popular here, which is bishop takes f6, pawn takes f6. Okay, so already right here, a couple of things to note about this position. Now, there are a couple of ways to play this. The one that I like is to start with c4. The reason why I like to start with c4 is because pretty much any other move allows a d5. So the purpose of c4 is to control a d5. You could also try to do this with e4, but it is better to control d5 with a flank pawn rather than a central pawn. So that's why I prefer this move, pawn to c4. And if you go for something else, you're giving black an opportunity to play d5, which is not, it's not ideal. It's still fine, but I think stopping that is one of the best ways to handle this position. So pawn to c4, bishop to g7, knight c3, f5, kind of pressuring this knight. Now here we go, rook to c1. If black takes, we can take back with the rook. And after castles here, we play pawn to g3. And after d6, bishop to g2, rook e8, e3, knight to c6, knight to e2. Couple of things to note here. So I'm not gonna get into the details here, but out of the opening, this is where the pieces go. So knights go to c3 and e2, bishop goes to g2, and we get this kind of a position, this kind of a structure. And what we want to do here is we want to put this knight on f4, and then slowly, after we castle, of course, slowly start pushing on the queen side with moves like b4, a4, c5, or b5. It depends on the situation. Most likely it's going to be b4, b5, and that's the kind of game we want to get. The bishop here will be pressuring on this diagonal, and we want to use that. We want to use this very strong bishop to pressure the diagonal. So that's how the games could go in your positions. It's very hard for your opponents to develop. Okay, let's go back right now to this position, where instead of taking, we play this line, g4. As I said earlier, not the most accurate line, but it is fun. I'm not going to lie, and it is certainly playable as well. So here black has two responses, bishop g7 or h6. Let's discuss bishop g7 first. This is the weaker one out of the two. h6 is stronger. After g5, knight h5, we trade and we play d4. And we play knight to c3, queen d2. And as you can see, here white wants to castle queenside. And you're going to see in a lot of these Nimzo-Larsen positions, white can castle queenside. And okay, knight to c6, queenside castles, kingside castles, bishop to g2, and here after bishop to g2, we are putting a lot of pressure here on the d5 pawn. Black cannot play e5, which would be, if black could get this, it would be great for him, but he cannot. And what we want to do is we want to play f3 and e4, so we want to build up the big center. That is the plan here. We could also play h4, h5. Of course, right now the knight's controlling, but if the knight ever moves, attacking the king is also a possibility. Okay, let's go back to right here. Actually, instead of bishop g7, what happens if black plays h6? And I think this h6 move is the reason why this g4 is very suboptimal. After h3 and then bishop to g2, so again we get this double fianchetto structure, or setup, not really structure. And after knight to f3, c5, e3, we just basically put the knight on e5, and then we retreat back to d3 to make this exchange. This variation is pretty much always going to be close to not close to equality, better for black slightly, but maybe white has some play with some various f4s. But again, I can't recommend this g4 move in a serious game, but if you want to play it in a blitz game, it is totally playable. So anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. This one's gonna be a bit shorter because this line is pretty straightforward with knight to f6 and capturing. This is the one I would recommend if you want to actually play seriously. Learn this line with c4 and learn the setup and positions that come with it. So anyways, this is probably going to be the last video on Nimzo-Larsen. I'm not gonna do any more of these. So that concludes our Nimzo-Larsen series. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video.